Welcome, and thank you for being here tonight for the candidate forum for the Hayward City Council. I'm Joe Loss from the League of Women Voters, Eden area. The League of Women Voters is a trusted membership organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. We do not endorse or oppose candidates or political parties. For decades, we've offered fair and balanced candidate forums. The League participates in advocacy and voter education. The advocacy arm of the League may take positions on issues such as in ballot measures. This forum is being presented by the education arm of the League. I'd like to remind everyone that the candidates have all agreed to participate under the ground rules set for this forum. The League is very proud of their history of civil discourse and nonpartisan forums. This is an educational event, not a debate. Before we get started, there's some details to review that will help you interact with the session. Microphones are muted for everyone except the candidates and the moderator. Video images will show the candidates and the moderator, and they will stay on screen for the entire forum. We're recording this forum and we'll be posting it via our social media and YouTube for the broader community to access. We have one forum to present this evening. This will be for the position of Hayward City Council. The City Council makes decisions about local laws and policies for the city using input from the community. There are 7 candidates running for this elected office. They are Angela Andrews, Ray Bonilla, Tom Ferreira, Daniel Goldstein, Joe Ramos, Tom Wong, and Francisco Zamero. All candidates were invited to participate in this forum. Candidates who were unable to attend were given the option to provide a statement to be read by the moderator after the candidates' closing statements. So we're going to be handling questions for the candidates in the following manner. The League is proud of its outreach to the community. Questions for this forum have been solicited in advance from the community and from our local league. We have screened the questions to ensure that they are fair and unbiased, and to avoid duplication and anything inappropriate. The order of answering questions will alternate, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. For the audience, the chat function will not be active. Please, candidates, keep an eye on the timekeeper screen. The clock will signal your remaining time and when your turn is up. As moderator, I may give verbal cues as well. Remember, if you go over time, I'll remind you. If you violate the ground rules, you can be muted, prevented from answering future questions, or removed from the forum. There will be no separate rebuttals. Following the questions, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. The order of the candidates has been randomly assigned. We will begin opening statements with candidate Andrews, then candidate Goldstein, candidate Bonilla. Candidate Andrews, your opening statement, please.
Hello, my name is Angela Andrews, and I'm running for re-election for Hayward City Council. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting me here tonight. For the past 4 years, I served community with integrity and focus on the Hayward City Council. We've invested in housing, revitalized commercial corridors, and strides to increase and enhance public safety. During my tenure, I have also supported and advocated mental health support, supported climate action plan goals, as well as initiatives to improve tenant protections, as well as reduce homelessness. I look forward to discussing more of my background, as well as my progress on what we've done so far on Hayward City Council, and I look forward to the discussion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Goldstein.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the League of Women Voters inviting me to speak with you. I am a proud dad of 2 college-age kids. We moved here 20 years ago. My kids were still babies. And I've been volunteering with the city of Hayward for 12 years now and have been serving on city council for the last 2 years. And it is such an honor and a pleasure to serve this community. One of the first things that struck me when I moved here was not only its diversity, but just how warmly embracing everyone is of that diversity. It put me at ease. It made me feel at home, and I knew right away that I was in the right place. I love this community, and I love serving it. So I hope you'll consider me for the re-election to City Council this year. I've been involved. I was 7 years on the Planning Commission, and during my 12-year tenure with the city, we've seen, I'm at 2 minutes already.
Yep. Thank
Wow,
you.
that went fast.
Candidate Bonilla, your opening statement, please.
Thank you so much. As your city council member, I'm running to be elected to serve this beautiful city that I've called home my entire life. I've been born, raised, and educated here in Hayward. I've lived here, as I said, my entire life, and I've spent the last 20 years serving this community in different capacities. When I was in high school, I was appointed to serve on the Hayward Youth Commission, representing the South Hayward neighborhoods, and that's where I got a good understanding of the issues that were impacting our youth. I then served on the Community Services Commission, where I started to understand the essential services of our community and how it is we provide safety net services to our most vulnerable community members when they need those services the most. Then I got my technical chops on the Planning Commission, where I was able to deal with planning, land use, and zoning matters. So I feel well equipped to continue to serve this community in a way that's equitable and that makes Hayward a thriving place that everyone can call home.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to our first question that goes to candidate Goldston. What is the number one factor that led you to run for city council? So you're muted, sir.
It's a great question, and I'll be really candid with you. I ran for city council because I was asked to. So I'm not a climber. I'm perfectly willing to do what my community feels that they want me to do. And I got a call and I was asked to run. It was good timing. I was able to. And, certainly out of my love for the community and willingness to step up and do whatever's needed, certainly propelled me. And I hope people feel that I have served this position well and served our residents well. I think the number of endorsements and the breadth of endorsements that I've received, I think they attest to the good work that I've done. But really, where it's at is I love this community, and I will serve as long as the community wants me to serve.
Thank you. Candidate Bonilla.
Thank you very much. The reason why I'm running for this office is because I have a real passion for serving this community and making Hayward a better place. I've seen the needs of our youth. I've experienced them firsthand. I understand that, we have to continue to focus on making sure that we have a public safety system that every neighborhood can feel safe and everyone in our community can feel welcome here. We need to make sure that we're increasing affordable housing and that we have an array of housing options to make sure that people who were born in this community can continue to live in this community. We need to make sure that we're addressing homelessness. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and I know how to deal with the homelessness issue head on. In fact, I spent the last 7 years working on homelessness and supportive services at the county level on the leadership board of the Everyone Home continuum of care. So I also understand and appreciate the fact that Hayward is a place that I would say has so much untapped potential when it comes to a local economic perspective, making sure that we're supporting our small businesses and we're revitalizing our downtown, making sure that we have a vibrant economic corridor in the industrial area, are issues that I want to continue to serve our community and move us forward in. I also want to make sure that, we have community services that serve our most vulnerable members of the community. that we have a thriving city that everybody can call home. So as you see from my priorities, we have a lot of work in front of us. And I have the tenacity, I have the passion, and I have the ability to collaborate with my colleagues on city council to get things done. And for these reasons, I'm running for this office and I ask for your vote.
Thank you. Candidate Andrews.
Well, the number one reason I am running for reelection is because of my daughter. I have a 5-year-old and I'm very concerned about sea level rise and whether it be a Hayward for her to feel that it is a safe community for her to stay in. I'm also running for economic development. I want her to have job opportunities here when she grows up. I want to also make sure that there's a mental health response. If there's an issue, we have that access to mental health and community services available to residents here in the community. And also want to make sure that there's housing that she can afford. I would love to be able to pass my home down to her, but I would love for her to be able to afford the home herself in this community, be able to afford the rent, be able to afford to purchase. And this is why I've been working so hard on so many of these initiatives, is because I'm thinking about her future. I did start off and Keep Hayward Clean and Green as a task force member, and I do care about how the community looks. I spent a lot of time doing beautification projects throughout the city, trash cleanups, murals. Those things are improving our quality of life. So I also am interested in economic development. I sit on the Economic Development Committee, and I want to make sure that we have a thriving economy here in Hayward. And it seems to be something that's working right now. We've opened up grocery stores, national chain restaurants, as well as small businesses. So the work that we're doing, it's really having an impact. And it's not just providing amenities, it's also providing good jobs in our city. And I want to continue doing that work and look forward to 4 more years of doing that.
Thank you. Okay, question number 2, we'll go to candidate Bonilla first. What do you see as the 2 greatest challenges facing Hayward and why? And if elected, what is your plan to overcome them?
Thank you. I think the 2 biggest challenges that that we have in front of us here in Hayward is ensuring that this is a place that everybody can call home. So making sure that we're prioritizing the expansion, the protection, the preservation, and the development of affordable housing in this community is really important to me. And it's something that it's very personal to me as well. And what I'll do about that is I'll make sure that we have policies in place that incentivize affordable housing development, inclusionary affordable housing development within the developments that are coming up across the city. That's been a priority of mine since I've been on the Planning Commission. And that's why we have expanded our affordable housing numbers and opportunities in the community, but we certainly have more work to do in that space. Second is, I want to make sure that we're addressing our homelessness challenges in this community. Homelessness is a very complex issue. It takes a regional approach, but we need local solutions, and we need to continue to partner to address homelessness in a way that is dignified, in a way that provides a spectrum of services for the folks that are experiencing homelessness. And allows coordinated entry and front doors and sets of services to allow people to get back on their feet. As someone who experienced homelessness at a very young age, I appreciate, how all of us can experience it at any point. We're all living on the edge. So making sure that we have, good and strong services to support folks who support members of our community who find themselves in situations of being unhoused is important to me. And then making sure that we have affordable housing, I think, are the 2 biggest challenges ahead of us that I want to tackle as your council member for the next 4 years.
Thank you. Candidate Andrews.
Yes, I would agree that homelessness is a challenge here. We are seeing many encampments that are being dismantled, and we are seeing impacts of that. And I do have an action plan that is being transformed from, originally it was the Foothill Action Plan, being transformed into the Downtown Action Plan, to really look at a coordinated effort on how we can address issues downtown, and that includes homelessness. And so I am interested in looking at the services that we're already providing, making sure there's efficiency in those services, and making sure the funds that the city is contributing to them are effective. So I just want to make sure that that is not just the only thing that we're doing for homelessness. We also are continuing to build affordable housing. One of the big projects that we have on mission is 100% affordable housing, 140 units. We also have single family homes that are affordable in our community as well. So we are creating a variety of housing types to address different types of families, and making sure that we are housing those families, whatever combination that they're in. The second issue I would say is that we do need to focus on figuring out how we can make sure that we are addressing just the impacts of COVID. And we've been very fortunate to have still a downtown that is small businesses that are still open, but we need to make sure that we are helping those businesses continue to be successful, and those who need a little support, we need to support them. And that's one of the reasons why we're so focused on economic development. If we continue to get those sales tax dollars, then we can make sure that we have a robust reserve in our budget. And so those two reasons, I would say those are the biggest things that I would see in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Goldston.
Yeah, thanks. So the city does these annual resident surveys, and according to the survey results, our residents mostly feel that housing and public safety are the two top issues. And so I continue to drive my focus where the residents say their concerns are. And so therefore, housing at all income levels has been a top concern for me for over a decade serving the city. We have my colleagues and I in Planning Commission and on council during my tenure have approved about $4 billion worth of development throughout the city. And I certainly want to continue to push for more development. More housing is good. In fact, we're leading the development of our state mandated numbers versus all other communities in the Bay Area except one. And so we're doing a really fantastic job. But in addition to that, as candidate Bonilla mentioned, we are also looking across all income levels and doing inclusionary housing, meaning that rather than building isolated developments that might, spur some backlash, we're having affordable housing built into the same neighborhoods. And so they benefit from all of the same services, access to schools, stores, and so forth. The second issue is public safety. And in that, issues of traffic, homelessness, mail and package theft, and other property crimes. And I've got 4 decades of experience affiliated with law enforcement. And I have been working with my partners to address traffic and homelessness and package thefts, and I will continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next question goes to candidate Andrews first. Hayward is a diverse community. If elected, how do you plan to communicate with and interact with the residents?
Yes, thank you for the question. We have done many multicultural events in our city. And one of the events that I helped put on and initiated was a Juneteenth festival over the past 4 years. It was one of the first events that we did when I was elected. And the event wasn't just a party that we had downtown. We actually had COVID vaccinations, because in that community we were seeing low vaccination rates for COVID, and so there was opportunities for getting vaccinations during the height of COVID. We also provided job opportunities, resources, and just allowed the culture to be reflected for that very important day in our community. We've also worked on different events for our Asian community. We have many groups that come into our community that do their own festivals, and the city support them. And I definitely want to do that as well. We also have the Community Services Commission. They give recommendations on many cultural activities that are happening through the community, and we support those efforts with approving their recommendations. And also, I try to reach out to different groups that are in the city to see what their needs are, whether it's visiting churches, going to meetings, visiting different neighborhood groups. Those are some of the ways that I interact and do a lot of community engagement. But mainly, it's been throwing community events that reach thousands of folks in our community. And not just in Hayward, we receive many attendees that come far and wide to participate in our city. And it also helps our city with the economy. So we'll continue to do that work.
Thank you. Candidate Goldston.
Yeah, thank you. Diversity is one of the things that I love about Hayward. This is such an awesome, awesome place. And I've made it a habit since I first moved here to reach out to different community leaders to find out what's going on around town. I fairly regularly meet with church leaders. I've met with the Jewish community, Catholic leaders, Protestant leaders, Muslim leaders, the Sikh community, and others. And I'm a member of the Asian American Pacific Islander Democratic Caucus, and I do what I can to listen and learn from people and find out what they want. And I ask them that question: how can we make Hayward better for all of us? And I will continue to do that. It's really, an awesome experience. And, I think it comes naturally to me just to be that open with people. I used to do Model United Nations in high school and in college, and it was always a fun experience. And this isn't exactly the same, not at all, because we are talking about real life here. But for example, I've got no difficulty in hearing people that have different backgrounds and different values to my own, and putting my own biases aside and listening carefully to what their real hopes and aspirations are. And then I can act on that. And it's my pleasure to do that. And I hope the community in Hayward will give me another 4 years to serve this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bonilla.
Thank you so much. And this is such an important question. The diversity of our community is something that I take a lot of personal pride in. Hayward is one of the most diverse cities in the nation. And we have one of the most diverse councils, I believe, in the nation as well, that represents and reflects our community. So it's been a pleasure serving this community for the past 20 years in ways that center all of my decisions through the lens of equity, inclusion, and diversity. As we've talked about, making sure that we're using input from the community in all of the decisions we make is critically important, and it's something that I've demonstrated through all of my years of service. On the Youth Commission, it was important that I listened to youth around me to understand the issues that were impacting them, because all of their issues weren't issues that I necessarily experienced, and vice versa. That would be the same thing on the Community Services Commission. When I was making decisions around funding allocations, it was important that I listened to the community and I was informed by the needs of the community. And listening to all pockets of the community was something I was committed to doing on the Planning Commission, and I carry forward here on City Council. Being intentional about seeking feedback from a diverse set of stakeholders, centering the voices of those impacted by decisions in the decisions that we're making on the dais is something that I'm committed to, and I've demonstrated that I'll do. When I think about my commitment to diversity, it goes through every decision we make, how our law enforcement interacts with our community, how we build housing that is inclusive and that serves everybody, how we make sure our services are diverse. So one of the things that you can count on me to do is always center my decisions through the lens of diversity and through the lens of our community by having an ear and decisions that are formed by our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question, this goes to candidate Goldston first. Are you willing to work with all leaders and make Hayward a better place to live and work?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that question because, you know, the tagline on my candidate material says working together we can make great things happen, but it's not just a tagline, it's something that I really believe in. It requires us not bringing our bias to the table and hoping that we're going to get what our bias dictates, but looking out with authentic appreciation for our community, for what their needs are, and then working with other leaders and resources available to us to bring that to bear for the community. And I think in the 12 years that I've been serving this city, I've been able to do that, not on my own. I really stand in awe of my colleagues, Ray Bonilla and Angela Andrews and Francisco Zermenio and others, because working together, we really have been able to do some really fantastic things. And each of us brings a slightly different perspective about what needs to be done. We might be hearing the same concerns from our community, but our backgrounds might help us shape a slightly different way of achieving it. But when we get together, we don't always agree, but we know how to work through the tough issues and arrive at a conclusion that's going to benefit our community. And for that reason, I want people to allow me to serve our community for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bonilla.
Would you mind repeating the question?
Sure. Are you willing to work with all leaders and make Hayward a better place to live and work?
Yes, I hope that I'm coming through clear because that was a little bit choppy on my end. But yes, I am committed to working with all leaders to make Hayward a better place for everybody. In fact, I think that's the only way we're going to be successful in being able to do that. Nothing we can get done on our own. As members of City Council, we have to be successful in collaborating with each other to move Hayward forward. And we've demonstrated we can do that well. That's why I have the endorsement of all of my colleagues on the Hayward City Council. But conversely, that's why Councilmember Andrews, Councilmember Goldstein, and Councilmember Zermenio, I've also endorsed because I know that we can get things done when we work together. When we work not just as a council, but when we work regionally, when we work within the communities, and when we work neighborhood by neighborhood. We've demonstrated that we can do that, and it's something that I'm committed to continuing to do. In fact, in my corporate life, I deal with disaster management and emergency responses, and that takes the cornerstone of being able to successfully navigate these very complex issues is the ability to collaborate, is the ability to communicate, is the ability to think strategically, and doing so in a way that welcomes everybody's voice, because I believe that the whole is stronger than any of its individual parts. And we are stronger when we work together as a community. And it's my commitment to continue to work with all of the leaders and all members of our community to make sure that we are building and moving Hayward forward in a way that's serving everybody. Thank you very much.
Candidate Andrews.
Yes, I also have the full support of council, including the mayor, and I have also endorsed Councilmember Goldstein and Ray Bonilla and Francisco Zermenio. I also believe that we can all work together to continue to make progress in Hayward. I also value the input of staff. We are an elected body. We have a lot of goals. But it's actually the staff that really helps us initiate those projects and make sure that we're planning for those projects and, more importantly, executing on those projects. So I do value the leaders that are on our staff, as well as every worker that is working for the city of Hayward. I've also reached to other bodies of government in our community to make things happen. One event that we worked on was a senior fest, because we were hearing from our seniors that there are a lot of activities for youth in our community, but there's not a lot for seniors to come out and engage. And so I worked with Councilmember Roach as well as Peter Buffette, who is on Hayward Unified, and put on a senior fest to address those concerns. I also sit on regional boards that deal with climate as well as our critical infrastructure. And so I do work with other leaders within adjacent cities to make sure that we're looking at infrastructure, and also advocating for our communities to make sure that we're getting those funds available to improve our sewers, to look at our water usage, to make sure that we have water coming to our community. And so I do all that work through regional bodies. So I am working with other mayors and other council members to make sure that we're doing what's best for the region. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can everyone hear Joe?
I think you're on mute.
You're
You're muted still.
you're still muted, Joe.
I'm unmuting myself. Nobody else unmute me.
There it is. Now we hear you.
It's working here. I'm afraid my internet's being a little glitchy. I hope that we can fix this, but I have to give you a warning. I have terrible technology karma. So I could be blowing it just by sitting here at my computer. So on to question number 5. We're halfway, folks. This goes to candidate Nia first. What is your plan to increase this?
Joe, you're intermittently cutting in and out. It's gotten progressively worse. I may need to take over on asking the questions. Why don't we give it one more try with you, in the event that it's just something in the household there, and I'll be ready to jump in if I need to. So please give the question one more chance. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's working. So I think what I will do is I will jump in here. I've asked Joe to forward me the questions. We're just going to have a tiny little hiatus here. I thank everyone for your patience. Take a water break.
One option, if you'd like to consider, is she could write the questions in the chat.
Oh, that's a beautiful idea. Joe, how do you feel about that? Okay, I will monitor the chat here. Panelists, do you all have access to the chat?
I do.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay, we may have lost her altogether, but
Yeah, it looks that way.
looks that way. But hey, technology allows. I've got my cell phone here, and she's going to email me the questions, and I will jump in. I'm going to mute myself for one moment. Okay, thank you everyone for your patience. The next question is, what is your plan to increase business development in downtown Hayward?
For,
I'm sorry, what was the question?
who is that question for?
I believe
That
it's-
is for candidate Bonilla.
Yes, that's it. All right. So my plan to increase business development in downtown, it's multifold. There's several parts to this because it's quite a complex issue, but it is an issue that Councilmember Andrews and I and the mayor, as well as the full council, have been tackling through our work on the Economic Development Committee for the city. We put together, I think it was probably at the leadership of Councilmember Andrews and the Economic Development Officer. But nonetheless, I'm a part of the committee, so I heard the report and I contributed to it, which is, this 100-day plan to look at kind of a multitude of ways that we could increase economic development in downtown. For an example, how do we improve the lighting in our downtown? How do we make sure that there's perhaps a stronger presence around community safety so that people could feel safe in downtown? How are we partnering with our business owners in downtown to do crime prevention through environmental design? So there's ways that we're being very intentional about protecting the businesses that are in downtown, but then also making sure that it's an environment that is attractive to other businesses. So I support, also looking at incentives to continue to support the businesses that are there, incentives to bring in new businesses. And I also, support pretty aggressive approaches to working with folks who have blighted buildings in our downtown and who have these buildings who have sat vacant for years. So basically, working together to also address the homelessness issue in our downtown is going to create a downtown that's much more vibrant. Making sure it's walkable is important, and it's going to increase ultimately business development to where we can have a thriving economy downtown that everyone can enjoy to party at, work at, and potentially live as well.
Thank you so much, candidate Bonilla. If I
Thank you.
have my sectioning right, I believe that candidate Andrews is
Thank you.
next to answer this same question.
Thank you. Yes, Council Member Bonilla probably knows that I'm obsessed with economic development, and I'm so fortunate to be on that committee. And I have worked really hard with Councilmember Roach on creating that Foothill Action Plan, now the Downtown Action Plan, and working with our Chief Economic Development Officer in guiding in what we need in a 100-day action plan. I've also just personally reached out to businesses and see if they would come to Hayward. One business I found on Instagram and saw that he had a stack of records that was surrounding him. And I looked at a location and he said Hayward. And I said, hey, are you interested in opening a business in downtown Hayward? And he said yes. And he opened up that next year. And so I continue to try to be creative in attracting more businesses to come to Hayward. Not just in downtown. We also have a really phenomenal business called Brick by Brick Toys that opened in West Hayward, and it's doing great business. It's already expanded for the second time, and I'm really trying to find things for families to do, as well as just different activities. I've also worked with the Downtown Hayward Improvement Association to try to attract activities to bring more businesses and vibrancy to Hayward. So we had a pop-up shop in our library, as well as bringing a boba store into our library just to activate spaces. And it actually helped the downtown see an increase in weekend traffic. So that also brought in more revenue for the city. But actually, our downtown is doing well. We only have a 2.7% vacancy rate compared to the regional average of 5.4%. So even though we had the impacts of COVID, our downtown has a very low vacancy rate, and that I credit a lot of that to our economic development team, making sure those businesses feel supported by using ARPA grants. We have also improved making sure that they have good signage and public art to make sure that they are attracting new customers.
Thank you. I'm back. We'll see. I'm guessing we're still on the question about increased business development in downtown, right?
Yes,
Candidate Goldstein.
yeah, thank you. I would gladly yield my time and let Angela keep talking because she keeps hitting the nail right on the head. And I stand impressed and in awe of my colleague. Uh, most of my career has been around growing small businesses, and I've we really work well together as a team. And a few things that I see, the businesses that are in the downtown area have commented to me that their concerns, their number one concern, believe it or not, is the homelessness issue. We received, I think, 2 years ago, a $41 million grant for our partner BACS to open a navigation center downtown. And once that gets open, it'll be a little bit easier for us to transition people to the facility. And but traffic flow is also an issue. So a few of our businesses downtown have asked us to reconsider changing the current loop design, and I pushed for and received a county grant to redo the study. Doesn't guarantee we'll have funding to do it, but at least we can examine it again. And then, of course, issues like safety, so around lighting, traffic speed, and so forth. But our economic development department has said that we really need new investors, people that have a vision for what Hayward can be, not looking back in the history about what it was and trying to recreate that so much as to create what downtown Hayward, what that vision can be. And I'm just super excited that we have people like Angela Andrews and Ray Bonilla on our Economic Development Committee able to spearhead that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I did warn you about my technology. We move on to question 6, which will go to candidate Andrews first. How would you balance the fiscal demands on the city revenue?
Yes, we are, we actually are like other cities in the sense that we will be dipping into our reserves, but not at an aggressive rate. But we do need to think about the future of our reserves. And so we need to continue to focus on making sure we're increasing revenue. We do have a very important measure called Measure K1, just to make sure that we're able to work on the initiatives that we have planned for our community, including looking at what are the needs of public safety, what are the needs of our library. And so we do need to make sure we have a healthy balance to the budget. We also will be looking at how do we make sure we're attracting new businesses to come downtown, making sure our industrial sector is making sure that our industrial sector is thriving, and that will contribute to balancing our economy. And we are being very conservative with our projections, and we will continue to do that. But I really want to rely on our Budget and Finance Committee, which our Councilmember Ray Bonilla sits on, and looking at those recommendations. We've also pushed our staff as well as our city manager to come back with recommendations of what they would like to see for us to review in order to make sure our budget is strong and healthy in the future. But it is something that we're going to have to definitely tackle over the next few years. And it definitely is one of our biggest issues that we'll have to address in the coming year.
Thank you. Candidate Goldstein.
Sure, thank you. Balancing revenue is always a tricky thing for any city because when things are going great, there's a tendency to loosen the purse strings. And then when things are tough, it's kind of hard to counterbalance that. Our city, though, for at least the last 10 or 12 years, under excellent guidance from our Director of Finance, have been able to institute a number of measures that not only help the city attain a well-balanced financial picture, but also to help council members experience in these things or not really have a strong picture. And in fact, anyone in the public can go to our website and look up the annual consolidated financial reports, the ACFR, is not only gives a great picture of where we stand in terms of money that we have, but all the streams of how it comes in and all the streams that we spend it on. But it also discusses things that might impact the budget coming up. One of the things that we implemented, or I should say our finance department implemented, was having a reserve of about 20%. And so during those periods of time when things are lean, we have something to draw on, while we also are looking at where we need to tighten the belt. And there's a lot of knobs and levers to turn when you're not in a panic. And so having that reserve gives us an opportunity to examine all the knobs and dials in terms of where we want to land, and gives us time and some breathing space to figure out how to achieve that balanced revenue picture for the benefit of our whole community. I think they do an outstanding job, and I am very happy to support them going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bonilla.
Thank you. And what an important question. When I think about, how we balance the physical demands of our city, how we deal with our revenue and balance our expenses, I firmly believe that that's our primary, one of our primary responsibilities as a city council member in this community, is making sure that we have strong physical health, not just for today, but for a sustainable future for this community. As you heard from Councilmember Andrews, I have the opportunity of serving on the city's Budget and Finance Committee, which enables me to contribute significantly towards shaping our city's financial plans. I think every decision that we make with the budget must reflect our strategic objectives and priorities to ensure we're investing in the areas that matter most to our community, because our strategic objectives and priorities are informed by the community. A sustainable budget is one that not only supports high quality services for all members of our community, but also anticipates and plans for future challenges. As you heard from Councilmember Goldstein, it's important that we have healthy reserves and a continuity of a balanced budget position. So in the upcoming years, we need to prioritize, areas such as affordable housing, public safety, and economic development, while also investing in the staff of the city. But we can't, but we need to do all of this in a way that's financially responsible. And I feel like I bring the experience to be able to ensure that we have a budget in which our city thrives today, but also builds a sustainable and prosperous future for tomorrow. And I know that we can do that in ways that don't require us to increase taxes, because as members of this community, we all deserve high quality services at reasonable taxes. And that's something we're committed to ensuring continues to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to remind you that these tough questions came from your community. So you're doing a wonderful job. This next question will be our last question so that we can honor our timeline. And the question goes to candidate Goldstein first. How can the city council work to ensure the availability of affordable housing for the unhoused in Hayward?
Wow, that's been a really tough issue that I and my colleagues here have been working on for a great number of years. And it's not something that we're going to do alone, but it is something that we can do in partnership with community housing development folks such as Eden Housing and sorry, off the top of my head, I'm forgetting their names, but we have a number of partners who have really excelled at creating housing for low-income folks. But also, we changed the structure of our in lieu fees to make it better, more attractive for developers to provide inclusive housing. But affordability is a relative statement. When you're talking about a median price now of around $1 million, affordability, that word gets thrown around a lot. So the real question is, how do we enable people to have either enough income from their jobs to buy homes or rent, or create loans in a way that make housing affordable for somebody. And so projects like Public Bank East Bay is one way that we're looking down the road, might be able to provide loan underwriting to make loans more accessible and available to people. On the homelessness side, though, that's really going to require organizations like BACS, our chief partner in the region. They've won a $41 million project grant to take over the St. Regis downtown, and they're in the process of renovating that to turn that into a navigation center. So we've got a very broad spectrum of housing needs here, and we are working on ways with our state and county partners to achieve not only the housing numbers, but also the mechanisms, the down payments and affordability structures that will help people be able to buy or rent. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bonilla.
Thank you. When I was thinking about the question, it's ensuring the availability of affordable housing for everybody in our community, and which I think will help address some of the kind of funnel that brings people into being unhoused. But I think people find themselves being unhoused for a whole set of reasons. And I do think that we need to prioritize and continue to prioritize a housing first option. So when I think about, tackling homelessness and improving affordability in our city, it is one of my key campaign goals. And my extensive experience on countywide initiatives such as A1 and Measure W, and my 7 years as someone that worked on these issues through Everyone Home and the collective impact and continuum of care, I really do feel like some of the unique solutions that we can bring to address affordability can come from things like private and public partnerships. How do we continue to build inclusionary affordable housing? How do we make sure that we have renter protection so that people don't find themselves coming into unhoused situations at rates that are higher than they should be, because renters aren't necessarily being treated well? Where do we find opportunities, and how do we prioritize first-time home buyer programs at all income levels? How do we make sure that we're building some of the most affordable housing units, for an example, ADUs? How do we make sure that we're continuing to invest in our as Councilmember Goldstein said, wraparound services for members of our community, rather that be at our own sites or through partnership sites. But I think making sure that the way that we address affordable housing is working with those that are unhoused and those that are in that situation to drive solutions that are centered around their needs.
Thank you. Candidate Andrews.
Thank you. Before I was on council, I served on a planning commission and was able to encourage developers to look at creative ways to bring affordable housing to those projects. And one of the things that we've noticed on planning commission as well as on council is that developers like predictability. They want to look at the bottom line. If we can show that this is helpful for their project, then we can see how both of our needs can be met, which is increasing affordable housing. So one of the things that we've done is created a point system for developers to see, oh, I can get more points and increase density if I add this number of units and add these features to the project. And that has helped with including more inclusionary housing in projects. It's also something that I look at in terms of what are some of the amenities for the residents who are already here in Hayward. What is the benefit are they getting if we are increasing housing, if we are adding affordable housing? So we're looking at how do we add amenities to those projects that all of Hayward can enjoy. And those are including mixed use developments with amenities that the community has been wanting for a long time, whether it's that coffee shop or it's that small park. And so if we can give developers predictability, we can increase affordable housing. For example, there was one project that stalled for a very long time. They built a few phases of the project and kind of held an amenity hostage, in my opinion. And one of the things that I push for is if you want to complete this project, if you incorporate affordable housing, then we can get to the other side of this. And they actually accepted that proposal and finished the project. And so those are the things that I would like to do, is to continue to work with developers to make sure they're bringing amenities to all of the community, as well as making sure inclusionary affordable housing is being included. And then making sure that we're sharing that information out to our community. For example, we have a Habitat for
Thank
Humanity
you very much.
project that, yes.
Okay, this is your moment to catch your breath and get ready for your closing statements. I'm going to share some information on voting right now, and the candidates will give their closing statements in just a minute. I know you haven't all had your questions answered. We hope that you will contact the candidates directly for additional information. We also participate in vote411.org, and we encourage you to view the candidates' information there. If you've moved or changed your name or wish to change your party affiliation since you last registered, you need to re-register. Online voting registration is available at the Secretary of State's website, sos.ca.gov. It's secure and easy. The deadline to register to vote online is October 21st. Voters may also register to vote on Election Day and vote provisionally. Ballots have started to be mailed out on October 7th. Remember, you can vote in person, by mail, or place your ballot in an official Alameda County ballot drop box. Whatever you choose, please cast your ballot on or before Election Day, November 5th. Ballots postmarked on November 5th must be received by November 12th. Now the candidates will make closing statements. We will begin with candidate Bonilla.
Thank you. As I had mentioned in my opening remarks, I'm deeply passionate about serving our community. I've dedicated over 20 years to serving my hometown, our hometown. I've devoted myself as a public servant in our community, serving on the Hayward Youth Commission, the Hayward Community Services Commission, the Hayward Planning Commission, and now on the Hayward City Council. I've gained a comprehensive understanding of our city's pressing needs, challenges, as well as community-centric solutions to be able to address those. And I hope I've been able to demonstrate that tonight. My priorities are clear: enhancing public safety, increasing affordable housing, addressing homelessness, revitalizing our economy, and expanding community services. I have a track record of consistently collaborating to effect real meaningful change in this community. Together, I believe that we can advance Hayward as a safe, resilient, thriving community that everyone is proud to call home. I humbly ask for your vote. I am honored to have earned the endorsements of the entire Hayward City Council, including our current mayor, as well as former Mayor Barbara Holliday, and our current Mayor Mark Salinas, our Hayward Fire Department, as well as the Alameda County and Oakland Fire Department, Congressman Eric Swalwell, Alameda County Supervisor Elisa Marquez, the Building and Construction Trades of Alameda County, Equality California, Planned Parenthood, and many others. For a full list of my endorsements and for more information about my campaign, please visit www.raybeniaforhayward.com. And again, I ask for your vote. Ray Bonilla, 5th on the ballot. And thank you again so much to the League for hosting this forum tonight. And thanks for my colleagues for being so cordial as usual. It was a great experience, and I look forward to continuing to work with them and receiving your guys' vote.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from candidate Goldstein.
Yeah, thank you. It's been such a humbling and honoring experience to be able to serve this community. I've always volunteered in every community where I've lived and always sought to find ways to bring people together, bring people to resources, find ways to get things done. And, it's just such an incredible opportunity serving as a city council member. It really just expands that opportunity. So I get the awesome experience of getting to work with our, county supervisor, Elisa Marquez, and our assembly members, past and current, Senator Aisha Wahab, Representative Swalwell, and others in getting things done that benefit our community and is really such an amazing experience. My priorities are to continue to grow responsive and respectful public safety. I've got 4 decades affiliation with law enforcement, and so I speak the language and I understand the challenges that they face. And so I think I have some unique insights to help them navigate some areas of that might be difficult. I'm also prioritizing housing, so more housing and less traffic, and protect working families. So making sure that people really only have to have one job to afford to live here in the area. I want to open up education and career opportunities. I think we do that well in Hayward, and so I'm going to continue to focus on that. I have to prioritize the environment, making sure that we're doing the right things, at least at the city level, but also promoting throughout the city, doing the right things for our environment. I want to bring more jobs to Hayward, and I also want to continue to provide compassionate care for the unhoused. Please visit my website, dangoldsteinforhayward.com, for more information about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Goldstein. Candidate Andrews, your closing statement, please.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, and thank you to my colleagues who have been more than gracious in receiving kudos and giving kudos for all the hard work we've been doing on council. I want to request another 4 years to do all the work that we're doing to make progress in Hayward. I have served in this community as the chair of Keep Hayward Clean and Green Task Force, as well as vice chair of the Planning Commission, and am so humbled to serve as your council member on Hayward City Council for the past 4 years. I am honored to receive endorsements from Congressman Eric Swalwell, Assembly Member Liz Ortega, State Senator Aisha Wahab, County Supervisor Elisa Marquez, as well as the full council, as well as the Hayward Area Democratic Club, the Alameda County Democratic Party, as well as Sierra Club, BWAPA, Planned Parenthood, and many building trades, as well as the building trades and labor. I continue to work on some of the issues that you all care about, which is increasing public safety, and I'm looking at it from a proactive perspective. I've been honored to work with our public safety to look at preventative measures to reduce crime in Hayward, including the catalytic converter stamping program to reduce catalytic converter thefts. I work with our downtown streets team in order to make sure that we are reducing blight in our community. I served as an advisor on that council and continue to work as a liaison as part of Keep Hayward Clean and Green. And of course, love to talk more, if I could, about economic development. I work with the DHIA, which is the Downtown Hayward Improvement Association, to make sure that we're bringing activities to Hayward, as well as making sure our downtown is an attractive place to be. If you like more of the actions that I've done over the past 4 years, you can go to angelaforhayward.com, as well as a full list of my endorsements. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one statement to read. This is from candidate Zermano. I'm running for re-election to continue supporting Hayward community members, families, and all businesses by prioritizing solutions to address public safety, affordable housing, homelessness, a vibrant community economy, and our environment. My commitment to Hayward has crossed decades, from teaching at Chabot College for 46 years to serving our city in different roles, including city council. I love our diversity and the work that we've been able to accomplish, including the many environmental goals that we have achieved under my leadership while serving in committees. I am a proud champion of our youth, believing that our investment in them today will help build our next generation of strong leaders who will continue to pursue Hayward's successes and legacy. I founded the Latino Business Roundtable because supporting our local Hayward economy and shopping local are important. I am honored to be endorsed by the majority of the Hayward City Council, Hayward Firefighters Local 1909, County Supervisor Elisa Marquez, Building and Construction Trades Council of Alameda County, community members, working families, local leaders, business owners, and many others. I am committed to continue to dedicate my time and energy to serving our fine city with your vote. Thank you. Hayward on www.zermano.info. So I extend my sincere apologies for my technology glitches and appreciate you staying with us. Thank you to all the candidates for participating this evening. Thank you to the attendees for taking time to become an educated voter. We also had many volunteers participating and want to thank them for their help. Again, we ask you to check vote411.org for information on these candidates. We welcome any of you to join the League of Women Voters in doing the hands-on work to empower voters and defend democracy. Please vote on November 5th. Thank you. Ellen, you want to stop the recording?
Looking to stop recording now. Can you point me in that direction?